Hello, City Skylines fans. I'm Sockswayup, and welcome back to another episode of Newman Shore. Last episode, we finished up, we created our city park. I love the way it turned out. If you haven't checked that out, head on over to the channel, check out that video. This episode, we're going to be trying to get rid of the filth in the river. That's the plan. So what we're going to do here is build a water treatment facility, the in-ground ones. The area we selected for this is on the other side of the cargo airport. This area is kind of deemed for some industry. We already have that with the cargo area, so adding in a little bit more of these not so clean buildings should be okay. So first what I was doing is kind of laying some of them down, seeing how many I could fit in this area, also trying to figure out the size, or not the size, the capacity. How many of them do I actually need to get rid of all of the other pumps that we have outside by the river? So here's a little look at the design that I came up with. 4 of them on one side, and then on the other side of this, we're gonna try to mimic it as well. I think 8's gonna be enough for now to at least give us the capacity we need, plus a little bit of growth later down the road. At least that's the plan we're gonna go with, and see how it turns out. I think one of the big lessons I learned in the last episode was to actually go all out with some of the detailing. So here what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this fence. We don't have a lot of assets because we are trying to play somewhat vanilla here. We don't have assets to be able to create kind of a gate entry to this area, but I want to make it feel secure. We have a water treatment facility. We don't want this to get corrupted or attacked by any type of criminals. So we're gonna put some protection around it, pretend like we have some security, kind of put this fence around as much of it as possible. Again, just kind of give it the look that it's realistic, that it's closed in, trying to go as much as we can and push the limitations of detailing in this somewhat vanilla City Skylines series. So the next thing I wanted to do here was to make kind of a break area, you know, just an area for people to hang out while they're at work. So I saw these tiles in the city park section of City Skylines, so I decided why not recreate them in other places. I tried to get them to line up perfectly. As you can see, we do get it lined up, and then the second we hit the click button or the mouse button, it jumps over a little bit. I kind of fought with that a little bit, but eventually I gave in and just tiled it the way the game wanted. It looks good enough when we're pulled away. It doesn't look detached, but we get this area, you know, set up pretty cool for a little break area for the citizens of this town to have a place to hang out and relax on their break, maybe eat their lunch, maybe just hang out and read a book while they get away from the day-to-day grind of their jobs. This section here I wanted to extend on the water treatment facility idea and use some of the assets from the Disasters DLC. And we added these water tanks as well as what I believe is a pumping station for when there's floods. But I've decided in my head it's you know, another part of the treatment plant. Maybe the water comes in and they're treating it a little bit. At least that's what it looks like to me. So we're gonna go with that. And these extra reservoirs we're gonna definitely use as, you know, extra capacity for the city. The design I went with here, I'm not too sure about. I didn't want everything just lined up perfectly. I wanted to kind of change up the way that we design areas, so went with something a little bit different. We used a lot of paths in this area to try to, you know, find places and ways for people to move across this area quickly and get from one place to the other if they do desire to do that or if their job requires that of them. So adding in these larger buildings that make up the water treatment plant, we decided to add some parking as well for people to park when they're at work. Definitely something needed. It's something that's been on my mind about these assets is recreating our own parking lots in the asset editor and removing these from our collection to make it a little more vanilla, something that we actually created on our game. Thinking about doing that. Let me know if you think that's a good idea, if we should, or if we should just go ahead and keep using these. This is the one stretch that we do have that's not really vanilla. There's also some assets that are populating when we zone that are some of the custom downloaded assets that I have that for some reason are still loading when I start the game up this way, even with no workshop. But anyways, we move on, we keep going. You can see we are doing a lot of paths around it, kind of just trying to add to the concrete that's around the area so that the ground doesn't look as ugly. That was my thought for this. Something that I was really struggling with during this build is the way Vanilla City Skylines handles pollution. I really wish there was a way to tone that back without mods. We might eventually cave and add some mods for that. And that's one of the things that's just driving me nuts about this build right now. The pollution's a little overdone, in my opinion, in Vanilla City Skylines. So this next area here, we are adding a little bit more industry near the water treatment. It might not really make sense in real life, but it's something I wanted to do here. We're cleaning up the other area, our original industry area, for expansion in the next episode. We're gonna add some more people to the city soon. We've been hanging out at 20,000 for too long. But here I was really fighting with myself. There is some terrain here. There's a hill. This road you can see on the right goes uphill into this area, and this is where I struggle with City Skylines a lot, is playing with terrain, and I decided to just deal with it. And today we do that. So here we're gonna zone a lot of industry in this area, just on the inside of this circle here, or this, I don't know what shape it is. We play around with some of the roads, and then we decide, you know what, maybe that's good enough. So there's a good amount of area here to get a lot of zoning in for our industry demand, so that we can then go back to the other part of the city and wipe it all out and clean it out for that expansion that we're planning coming up soon. And then I caved. I installed a mod to get rid of the pollution. I couldn't handle it anymore. I apologize to those of you who were excited about this staying pretty vanilla. I couldn't do it. I apologize. Complain, do it, yell at me in the comments. But you can see here, we decided to, you know, we're attacking this terrain, and you can definitely see what we're doing a little bit better without the pollution. We're adding in a lot of rocks, so we don't have tools to, you know, manipulate the terraform as well as you can with mods, so we're definitely having that handicap still. Just adding in a ton of rocks around this area to finish it up and make it look like there is a reason we did the road layout this way. There's a reason why we fit in as many of the buildings as we could. We wanted to take advantage of some of it, but retain some of the nature. One of the things that I love doing in cities is adding in some of these rock structures around a good amount of areas that kind of makes sense to just fill a gap. But also then in our own heads, we can say, you know what, the reason we did that design is because we wanted to retain some of this nature and build around it and make for a cool look and design for the city. As some of you may know, we've introduced Disasters DLC, and there's some downsides to that. Even if we don't use the disasters, we have to have a response unit to fix some buildings that collapse or burnt down. And so that's what we're gonna do here. We're gonna do that. We're gonna add the response unit, and we have a perfect spot for it. And now that the unit's laid down, or the response unit's laid down, disaster response unit, we now have that building rebuilt by the university. All is good. It's time to finalize the location of it, add some details to it. Again, we're trying to focus on this like it's not vanilla as much as I can and take advantage of things. And so here I'm trying to line up the road and get it perfectly centered with where we want the entrance and exit to be. We have to do some redesign of it to get it to turn out as well as we want, but we eventually get it into that place, and it looks a lot better. Like that. It opens it up a little bit. The entrance is a little bigger, so we'll have a little bit of an area to design, and I think it's pretty cool. We're still messing with the terrain a little bit. We wanted to add this access road on the side here, add a little bit of parking for people. I think that was a good idea to, you know, make it look more realistic, make it look more like a finished building. One of the complaints I would say about vanilla buildings is there's not enough parking. Seriously, City Skylines, let's have a content creator pack of parking lots. That's what I want next, City Skylines. I don't know if you ever see my videos, but that would be pretty awesome if you did. And then to add some final touches, we're gonna add a little bit of designs again, using some nature, some rocks, as well as the fences here to kind of close in the area. The disaster unit, that's definitely gonna want its own privacy. So we have the fences on the outside. We're gonna then add more fences to this interior area to just close it off from the general public. And again, if we had some more custom assets, I'd add some gates into those entrances. I think that would look really slick. So that's something maybe later on in the series, if we do unlock all the mods once we outgrow vanilla 9 tiles, then we can maybe come back to some of these areas and add in some touches and details that we want to see long term, and give it that final, you know, Sockswayup feel and touch. And that's the plan, at least for the rest of the series, but we're gonna keep going vanilla for a while. We're gonna end today's episode with a little flyover of the area we detailed and designed and developed this episode. As a recap, water treatment, we no longer have the dirty water in the river, even though we enabled a mod that would have made it disappear anyways. I wanted to get those assets away from there. The next thing, we got to figure out where we want to put the water pumps long term so they're not super visible to people in the city. Next episode, we're going to transition back to that original industrial area that we created in the very first episode. We're going to find a new place for the recycling centers and get those out of there and make a new residential area and maybe some commercial to start increasing the population of Newman Shore. We got to get that next tile unlocked. Right now we are locked into these areas and very limited on where we can build, and not a ton of the areas really make sense to add a new neighborhood right now without getting some more tiles unlocked. So we're gonna have a little bit of a challenge ahead of us in the next few episodes to get up to that next milestone and add about 18,000 people to the city, I think. But I think we can do it. I'm Sockswayup. I'll catch you on the next episode.